Excellent, there we are. So, welcome to London's Calling. I hope you have an excellent day. This session is what Salesforce and Pardot admins need to know about each other's systems. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room straight away. Some of you may be thinking, hang on a minute, why is it called Pardot? Does Nathaniel Sombu not know what he's talking about? If you don't mind, I'm going to explain to you why with a little song. We like a song? Yeah? So, you'll all be singing it by the end of the day. So, ready? Pardot, Pardot, so good they named it twice. Account engagement makes your marketing very nice. Pardot, Pardot, oh, who is near to pity? That they gave it a new name. They gave it a new name. The new name isn't pretty. Thank you. So, I hope that's cleared that up. We'll say no more about it. On with the show. So, this about the speaker, that is my face. These are my certs. I've been building and looking after Salesforce systems since about 2009. And I'm a Salesforce contractor. I've been on both sides of the fence, doing Pardot and Salesforce and a bit of both. I am N. Sombu on all of the socials and on the Hoover app. If you want to heckle my terrible, terrible singing, you can. We might have a sing-along at the end of the show, if you like, if you guys ask for it. But for most of the rest of this, no singing, maybe some dancing. Let's start with a little illustration of how tightly integrated Pardot is with Salesforce. This is the table that a Pardot admin sees for getting people's logging into Salesforce. They will log in with a Salesforce profile, and you map them to a role, which is roughly equivalent to a profile in Pardot. This is seen on the Pardot end. Salesforce admin, you may not ever know that this is going on. So there's a couple of things that I need to say about this. One, so I just need to start my timer. One is that, look, I lifted this from the internet. This isn't my system, by the way. Look, standard user is mapped to sales in this example, but how does the Pardot admin know what a standard user actually does? Yeah? If you give it a bad name like that, and that's the Salesforce standard profiles, but if you give it a bad name like that, then how are you supposed to know, right? And you know because you speak to your Salesforce admin. Similarly, Salesforce, if you've got a tick there, then that's a profile that is being used by Pardot. Your Salesforce admin needs to speak to your Pardot admin to say, oh, by the way, later on, because it's not long now before we're going to be removing all of those profiles, right, and going over to permission sets. But there are some reasons to not remove a profile, and one of them is that Pardot relies on profiles. Yes? So what we'll be talking about today is stuff like this where, your Pardot and Salesforce admins need to talk to make sure you don't mess up each other's systems. Yeah? So we're going to start by looking at kind of the structure of today's talk and how we're going to think about this. So I'm going to look at a basic deal lifecycle. Right? Okay, we start with adding a prospect. That might be a form. It might be a list. You might talk to someone at an event like London's Calling, right? I don't know. And add them into Pardot. Once you've added them in, you nurture them. Yes, and we'll be talking about nurturing journeys. Then, hopefully you qualify that lead. It becomes a marketing qualified lead. And you know what happens after you qualify the lead? You throw it over the fence. Yeah, it gets thrown over the fence. It's not my problem anymore. And it goes over to Salesforce. Salesforce then looks at it and says, I'm going to qualify that lead. So you look at that in Salesforce, you qualify the lead, goes into negotiation, and then you make a sale. Do you know what happens after you make a sale? Woo! Yeah, exactly. So this is a deal life cycle. It's not a great deal life cycle. But it's not unusual. It happens quite a lot. So, which is why I kind of said it's a Pardot and Salesforce meh. It's a yeah. What we'll do today is we'll look at all the work and all the collaboration that you need to do to just make this happen. Yes, and then we'll also talk about how with a little bit more collaboration, a little bit more communication between the two admins, how we can vastly improve on this process. And we're going to look at each of these points in the deal life cycle as we go along. So we're going to start off with adding a prospect. Okay, so what happens when you add a prospect is the Pardot admin will have a form, or they'll be uploading a CSV, and it will go into Pardot. And there will be fields that you're adding your data to, right? So the Pardot admin has created fields. And when you create a field in Pardot, you map it to a field that is in Salesforce. It's not linking to that field, it's a map to that field. So it'd be kind of nice for the Pardot admin to know what fields are in Salesforce and which are the really important ones and which ones are used in integrations and automation and stuff like that, just to have a sense. Because what you see in Pardot is it's like, I've got a field and I've got a field over in Salesforce. You don't see the description, you don't see where it's used. Similarly, in Salesforce, right, if you know that a field is being used by Pardot, and I'm going to say this again and again, you'll get sick of me saying it. Yeah, field updates are not automatically reflected in Pardot. Yeah, so, and I'm thinking especially about things like new pick list values, you stick in a validation rule or something like that. If you make a change and you know that it's also being used in Pardot, tell your Pardot admin so that they can make the changes in time so that it doesn't screw up their systems. Other things to note is that list memberships are not visible in Salesforce, yeah? And campaigns, prospects are added to one campaign, whereas in Salesforce, leads and contacts, we don't see leads at all, or we don't see lists at all. And leads and contacts are added to multiple campaigns. It's sort of a different model, and we'll be looking at those different models as we go along. So that's sort of adding a prospect. We are now going to move to what happens when you nurture a prospect. So hands up everyone who kind of is familiar with the phraseology, nurturing a prospect. So, yeah, okay, there's a good chunk of you, but not everybody. Okay, so nurturing is sometimes called warming up, right? Which is also terrible jargon. So warming up is when you send content to your prospects, and that will be things that will inform them about how great a company you are, what great products you have, and to infuse them, right? Inform and infuse. And then that will give them that warm, fuzzy feeling inside that makes them think, oh yeah, I really want to do business with you. The next thing that you're also going to be doing is profiling. You'll be gathering some more information. So if you have ever attended a Salesforce webinar or downloaded a white paper, they'll always ask you, like, what's your name, what's your email address, what industry you're in, what's your job title, all that stuff, right? They ask you that so that they can segment you, they can put you into the correct marketing group so they can send you targeted information. If I'm in X industry, they will send me information about that industry, which is great for me as a potential customer. It's great for them It should also be great for sales. It shouldn't just be like marketing thinks of the world in one way and sales thinks of the world in a different way. If you need to align across the two. And scoring, which is also a piece of Pardot jargon. So when I teach people to do Pardot, what I would tell them is that imagine I receive an email from a holiday company. And that holiday company has links in, right? So there's a link for romantic destinations. There's a link for cultural visits. There's a link for city breaks, cheap deals, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. So if I click on one of those links, what will happen is it will go, you're engaged, right? I get an engagement score, and it will increase my score. And if I click on one of those links, it will also put me on the relevant list again so that I can be further targeted, so they will know. So if I click on romantic holidays, romantic destinations, it will put me into Pardot, and it will say Nathaniel Sombu, romantic. If I click on cheap deals, it will say Nathaniel Sombu, cheap. Yeah? That is amazing information for the systems, and if you're wondering why you're getting those kind of emails, that is why, okay? We're also going to be thinking about what happens over on the Salesforce side. So because all this stuff is happening, on the Salesforce side, you need to realize that people don't just like put stuff in a form and it goes straight over to sales, and then they get a load of just awful leads, right? We're nurturing those leads so that get them enthusiastic, and then prospects don't get added immediately, yeah? Now, why are we doing this? Why do we do this in Pardot? The answer is very simple, right? It's to make the job of sales easier, right? If someone is half opening their wallet before you even give them a call, yes, then sales has an easier time, right? That is the point. And you know that works not from any data that's in Pardot. Right? You know that works from the data that you have in Salesforce about how easy it was to make the sale. Yes? So that is where you need to come get the data from Salesforce, get that back, put it out into your content strategy. If you have 5 products and with one of them you need like twice the number of meetings because people just don't get it, that's the one where you need to think about, how do we market to this better, right? Are we warming people up enough for this, okay? And lastly, I'm going to say, these journeys, they're great, but you probably want to think about different journeys for someone who comes in and says, I'm Nathaniel Sombu, but they're already in your system in some way. The account's already there, the person's already there. So once you've nurtured the prospect, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to qualify the lead. Which, again, awful jargon in marketing, qualified lead, MQL. Now, we said stuff doesn't go automatically over to Salesforce, right, from Pardot. What happens is it reaches a threshold for MQL. So, as I said, if you put some data in, right, you type some data in, you're profiled, and you say, I'm in X region, yeah? If the company doesn't ship to that region, it gets qualified out, yeah? No need to send that to sales. If however, you fit a profile, you are the person that's filled in the form, has said that they're in an industry that you do really well in, you've got the right job title, you've got the right number of employees, yeah, that will increase your profile, and so on. Different thresholds for different companies, different products even, yeah, will have things, and you need to have an understanding of what works for your sales teams so that they get good quality leads. Yeah, you're not just chucking everything over. Agree on that between you, yeah? And align those processes at MQL with your sales processes. And when you're aligning that, your Salesforce admin kind of needs to have an understanding of how those decisions are being made, right? Is it based purely on the region, or is it some other things? Now, obviously, you know, we're saying, like, is this sales ready? And what you'll be doing in Pardot is there's a great report called the Lifecycle Report. And that kind of tells you whether or not you made a sale, right? It doesn't tell you how easy that sale was, yeah? I've left an article here from Salesforce Ben, you can take a picture if you like, that goes beyond the basic report, basically to say this is a, yeah, hello, Salesforce Ben, I can see you at the back. So that will tell you like how to you know, have a report that is visible in Salesforce of how easy those things were, and then that will feed back. And you know what? If you say we've been qualifying these leads and we never ever sell to them, yeah, then you adjust your MQL so that you don't just flood the sales team with stuff that they don't need. So once it gets qualified, it gets assigned, right? Now, in Pardot, yes, you know, the system owns the records, yeah? But once it goes to Salesforce, Pardot needs to say, who does this belong to? Who is it assigned to? Essentially, there's two ways of doing it, right? You either say, you know, Pardot says, that's the person. So if Bob deals with A, product A, and Susan deals with product B, that's what you do. Or you can say, you know what, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to say, use the Salesforce assignment rules. Either way, you need to talk to your Salesforce admin, like, you know, about, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm assigning off. And like, because obviously if Bob goes on paternity leave, yeah, those leads are not going to go anywhere, and you need to know about that. You need to reassign. With assignment rules, what will happen is you are using fields, you're using data that's on the record to determine who it goes to. If you are doing that, yes, you need to have a chat with your Salesforce admin to say, what fields do you need? What data do you need? What is relevant? Because the Salesforce admin needs to know, are all those fields that are used in the assignment rules, are they being reliably completed in Pardot? So we do this, yeah, we've got all the fields, yeah, it can be synced over to Salesforce. Pardot does a little clock sweep. It syncs records every few minutes, 5 minutes. And then you get these sync errors, right? And people kind of ask me, like, why, when I'm in Pardot, do I get sync errors? And the answer is complicated, but it's also very simple. Pardot is trying to put in data, and Salesforce doesn't like it. Yeah, that's the simple answer. But why doesn't it like it, Nathaniel? Well, maybe there's validation rules that have been added that you know, it asks for data that Pardot just doesn't have, right? Maybe, and this is very common, which is why I keep going on about where is this used. You know that button, the handy little button in Salesforce says, where is this used? It doesn't tell you where it's used in Pardot. It only tells you where it's used in Salesforce. It doesn't tell you about the integrations. So if you know a field is being used in Pardot, add it to the description. Stick it in your documentation so that when you make changes, like sticking in the validation rule, or you kind of go, I'll just change this pick list value, you know to tell your Pardot admin, I'm changing this pick list value, you need to change it as well, right? Because otherwise the values will drift, and you know, you'll be wondering why you're not getting any leads coming through. And I've left Give me a whoop, Salesforce Ben, I'm bigging you up again. Yeah, I've left a couple of articles here from Salesforce Ben about adding in the engagement history component, right? So engagement is when someone has engaged with content. They've clicked on they've completed a form, they've opened an email, they've clicked on a link, right? And what that means is that they can see the things that that people have engaged in. And what I see a little bit too often is that links are called things like click here, right? I mean, how rubbish is that? You're looking at a lead and you're going, oh, I wonder what they've engaged in. Oh, look, they clicked there. So what? I mean, but if you say, oh, no, the link wasn't click here, it was romantic destinations, yes? Now you know that is what this person wants, yeah? That's the product that I want to sell. Or even, that's the angle at which, I've only got one product, but that's the angle at which this is a problem that I'm trying to solve for them. And if you do solution-based selling, or if you're doing any of those frameworks where you want to understand your customer, yeah, this gives that salesperson a really good head start if they can see what has happened. So we've thrown that over, and we are now going to qualify the lead. Yeah, and we're going to start with sales now. So, sales will get engagement data from Pardot. I've added in so good I've added them twice. Things for those Salesforce Ben articles about the engagement history, because you will see not only what content is sent pre-sales, right, but also the ongoing engagement, because now we're not just saying marketing has done their job and sales takes over. Now we're going to work more in collaboration, right? So Salesforce should include or can include the lead source, right? Where did this come from in the first place? Pardot can add, as a campaign member, these leads into a campaign, and Pardot also has a score. Those things are interesting because, remember I was saying, oh yeah, Pardot, we've got lists, yes? Things are added to lists. Yeah, if you've got, 2, 3, 4 different products, different personas that you're targeting, stuff like that, then you know what? Just stick them in as a field. It's fine. Stick them in as a field on the lead. If you've got more than that, yeah, if you've got loads, have them as separate campaigns, and in your Pardot automation, yes, when someone is in a list, right, and they are in Salesforce, you add them as a campaign member. So now, when someone is looking at that Nathaniel Sombu lead, yeah, before they pick up the phone, they'll say, I can see that Nathaniel Sombu is in the romantic campaign. I can see that he's in the cheap campaign, right? They can come to a decision about me as a lead and sell to me appropriately. And they'll phone up and say, oh, okay, I'm about to phone up Nathaniel. He's a cheap date. Yeah? And they see that because of the pre-sales engagement. Yeah? So that is really useful. The score is also really useful as well, right? But the score in Pardot is just a number. It's a number that you assign, and it doesn't mean anything to a salesperson. So, yes, get the score out from Pardot into Salesforce, but have a formula. Right? If you whatever works for you, if it's beyond, 100 or whatever it is, it's red hot, yeah, and maybe it's like fairly warm or whatever. So now someone can say, yeah, he's not only a cheap date, but he's red hot as well, right? That is incredible information for the salesperson. For what they'll be doing is they'll be adding sales data into their leads, and that will come back into Pardot. And Pardot can continue to target. So when they phone up and say, yeah, I've got a great deal for the most romantic city in the world, which is London. Don't care what the Parisians have to say about that, it's London. I can say, yeah, well, funny that, I was planning to go to London in June for the greatest tech conference in the world. And again, I don't care what the Californians have to say about that. It's London. And that can go into Pardot and can lead to more information. So far, we've been talking about data coming from Pardot into Salesforce. Now we're talking about Salesforce also sending data back, and that is when that is why I'm saying that you need to check the field sync direction. Yes, because in Pardot you say this field, if it's different for when on sync on that like 3-minute cycle, which direction do we go in? Do we go Salesforce overwrites Pardot or Pardot overwrites Salesforce if they are different? I'm not going to tell you which way to go. I'm just going to say make a conscious decision about which way you want to go. Cool. Okay, so we then move on to negotiation. Now, we've moved off a lead and we have created an account, a contact, and an opportunity. And the salesperson will be creating new contacts for that account. Those contacts will be added to Pardot AI because sales have added them, and you've got the sync coming back the other way. Now, this is important because you do want to nurture these contacts, but do you want to nurture them in the same way? And if you don't want to nurture them the same way, how does Pardot know? Yeah, and what I would tend to do is I would tend to say that there would be something on the record that would say, is this a current customer that we've just added? Is this a prospect? Is this a VIP? Is this just someone I've added because I feel like it? Yeah, something on the contact that tells you a little bit more about the context of why they're there so that Pardot can market them correctly. We're also going to be using other objects, right? There's not just these objects. So I've popped these in because these are the only objects that are available for Pardot to see. Yes, they are leads and contacts, which map to prospects, accounts, opportunities, campaigns, and if you have a programmer handy, you can use external activities as well. But you use more than that during your negotiation, right? There's opportunity products, there's whatever. You can buy additional custom objects, but you know what? They're expensive, and you're never going to have all of them. So, if you've got an opportunity and it has a product on it, expose that data. Are you going to expose it as a product interest field on the opportunity? Or are you going to go, each of those products has a campaign and we add someone to a campaign, right? Either's good. If you want to have a discussion about, the pros and cons of either approach, we can do that. But, you're exposing that data so that they can be marketed to. Obviously, you're going to track which leads drop out, right? You're going to say, well, we got to this point and they said no. And you know what? If we can track the reasons why they dropped out, that can feed back to that MQL, and we can say, you know what? Those people, yeah, they were not big enough, yeah, not enough employees for them to be buying our products. And you adjust the MQL to filter out people that are companies that are not big enough, right? And you keep that virtuous circle for you, so you make sure that stuff is correct. And then as Pardot is continuing to send data, right, you are going to get people opting out. You are going to get people bouncing. And this is data which is great for salespeople, because if you're saying, I've got someone here and Pardot has said they are not getting my emails, is that because they've changed their name? In which case, changed their email address, in which case you just update the email address and Pardot will try again. or it's because they just left. And you need to find a new person, right? So do have reports on things like, expose it as a piece of data onto your system, and do have a report on how, on what has bounced, yes? And if you don't have data quality reports already, get some, right? And include Pardot bounces as part of those data quality reports. And then we come on to the sale. So remember all that stuff I said in the last slide, like exposing the data out to Pardot, so that onto objects that Pardot can see, so that Pardot can mark it to people correctly. Well, yeah, that goes double, triple for once you've made a sale. Because once you've made a sale, Pardot needs to know that they are customers. And you will be doing different marketing to customers that you have than to prospects, right? So for example, if you can say that someone has bought this product, someone's bought, a table, right? Someone's bought a table from you. You know what you can do? Yeah, Pardot can say, oh yeah, I can see you got a table. Let's sell you some chairs, yeah? And they can, and you do that by having that data available, warm them up for the upsell, cross-sell, make it easier for the salesperson to say, what's this? And if you are selling upselling, cross-sell, if you're sending upselling, cross-sell emails, and the account manager is looking and saying, they clicked on that link, they spent time on the websites, yeah? I think they're showing signals that they are going to buy that. I better get on the phone, yes? That is where you start getting the return on investment from having systems that integrate like this, yeah? But we can also do things like, if you are able to expose when a subscription renewal is coming up to date, coming to its date, yes, you can automate the warning for resubscriptions and renewals, yeah? You can start warming people up, again, so that sales have an easier time of it, so you can make quicker, easier, and more sales. And so far, I've been all doom and gloom. People would drop out. You need to tell Pardot why things are dropping out so you can adjust back. But here, we have something that has worked, right? You've made a sale and it works. So you feed back to Pardot for the things that have worked, where it's a true best fit. And then that is the positive side of the MQL, where you decide, okay, this has worked. That's the stuff that we're going to qualify in. Yeah, and obviously, I've been kind of recommending that you use campaigns as part of your thing. And one of the reasons for that, one of the pros, is we have campaign influence reporting. And we can say, look, people that wanted romantic destinations, yes, yeah, we sell to them quite a lot, and because that is part of your campaign influence. So that is that kind of, that mayor process kind of vastly improved because we're kind of feeding back all the way through. We're feeding between those two systems. So instead of this linear way of looking at the world, yes, it's more like this. It's more of a circle, right? We add in the prospects, that goes into Pardot, we segment, we examine the content engagement, we qualify the lead, it pushes into Salesforce. Salesforce, has a sales process, and there's that two-way sync between the systems, right? And we also, sort of down here somewhere, we're also reporting on Salesforce and saying this is what works, this is what doesn't, and then feeding that back in to the content and automation strategy that is in Pardot. So that is sort of my number one takeaway. We have, how much time do we have? We have a little bit of time. So we have some time for Q&A, or we can sing. Who wants to sing? Yeah. That's a, hands up who wants to sing, who wants to go for Q&A. Well, maybe. Okay, hands up who wants to sing. There's no one wants to sing. It's a great song as well. Okay, that's fine. We'll go straight on to Q&A. Sorry, girls. Yeah. Well, you should have put your hand up.
We want you to sing.
You want me to sing? You want me to sing, but you guys don't want to sing. Okay, we'll go to the sing-along. We have just like 2 minutes. Okay, you ready? I have a terrible singing voice. Okay, you ready? I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. I was made for CRM, baby. You were made for marketing. Okay, you know the words now, everybody. I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. I was made for CRM, baby. You were made for marketing. One more. I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. I was made for CRM, baby. You were made for marketing. Okay, thank you. I've been Nathaniel Sombu. This has been what Salesforce and Pardot admins need to know about each other's systems. You have been amazing. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anthony from DSelect. And what is DSelect as a platform? It is essentially a way to enable marketers that use the Salesforce Marketing Cloud to get more out of their data. DSelect serves both non-technical marketers, for instance, those who do not know how to write SQL queries, as well as technical marketers who are very well versed in the platform, but who are looking for ways to be more efficient or who just want to enable their less technical colleagues. DSelect is an official Salesforce Marketing Cloud partner that offers the leading marketing data enablement platform on AppExchange. Fortune 500 leaders and mid-sized businesses leverage DSelect's intuitive solutions to help marketing teams create more powerful segmented audiences, control marketing communication frequency, and achieve faster Marketing Cloud ROI without code or technical dependencies.